Hey, so I'm at work. I'm in the parking lot of the Amazon warehouse. And as promised, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what it's like working for Amazon. I like to think of Amazon as like the recession proof, the pandemic proof place to work because they are always busy and they're almost always hiring. Currently, right now, they are really starting to hire a lot of people because they're getting ready for their peak season. So they actually start hiring in like August, and that's how I was able to get the part-time position that I want because those go quick. And they hire through pretty much the whole peak season. This is my fourth time working for Amazon during peak season. And the reason I decided to come back this year is because I was laid off because of COVID. I was teaching Zumba at a gym, and I also work the after school program. Well, the school's closed, so my kids are home during the day, so I'm actually going to be I work nights, but today is Sunday, so I picked up an extra shift. So I'm talking more about what those are here in a minute. But basically, I figured, hey, I can't sit around doing nothing anymore. We have some finance goals we want to reach. And so I said, you know what, Amazon's hiring again. Let me go back to Amazon. So the cool thing about Amazon is when you work for them as a seasonal worker, it's an at-will agreement. So you're not in any big contract or anything like that. You can decide to leave at any time as long as you give them an appropriate reason. Maybe the schedule's not working, maybe the location's not working, something like that. Or they can decide that they don't need you also. So that's keep in mind for that. But I've never had it where Amazon lets people go unless you do something like steal something or mess up something that's severely like a safety violation. But otherwise, if you work there and then you do decide to leave at any time, you can always come back at least 90 days after you've left. So for me, it's been pretty much a year every time that I come back because again, it's just the peak season. The first time I worked for Amazon was in the end of 2015. I got hired on for peak season at a sort center, and that's where I'm working now again, is another sort center. And the sort centers are the only ones that offer part-time, so they are 4-hour shifts. You can choose to work 3 days a week, 6 days a week, but you can't work 7 days a week. And you have to pick a weekend day, so you have to have at least Saturday or Sunday. I chose Sundays. And you can't work more than like 60 hours for the week. So I'm technically scheduled for 5 4-hour shifts, Sunday through Thursday, and that's basically 20 hours a week. Now you can pick up extra time, so that's what I'm actually doing right now. It is 3 o'clock, and I picked up an extra 4-hour shift before my shift, so I start here in the next 15 minutes. So my normal schedule is 8:30 at night until basically 1:30 in the morning. Technically, I'm scheduled till 12:30, but it is what they call flex hours. So you could be asked to stay an hour later, which usually happens more times than not. So I just plan on being here till 1:30. And again, I chose the night shift because my kids are not in school. We're doing online school, so I'm able to pretty much, I get off work, let's say I get off at 1:30 in the morning, I go home, by the time I sleep, I can get my 8 hours of sleep and then wake up and start school with the girls at like 10 or 11, as opposed to worrying about dropping them off at school earlier. So that's kind of nice. My girls are old enough now where they can kind of get their own breakfast, keep themselves entertained until I wake up. So that's been working out pretty good. I'm working 3:15 to 7:15, and then I'll have like an hour and 15 minutes between then and then when I start my next shift, which would be at 8:30, and then again I could stay till 12:30 or 1:30. I don't know what Sundays are going to look like. We'll see. Maybe it'll be busy. I am getting paid $15 an hour. When I did the sort center before, I had the same shift, 8:30 at night until about 1:30 in the morning, but I only made $12 an hour. So Amazon has increased their pay, at least here in Arizona. So that's a bonus. And so I can talk to you more maybe on my break about what the job itself is like. But Amazon is really simple to get hired on. You just go to Amazon.com and look up for, maybe not even Amazon.com. I'll leave a link. I think it's like Amazon Work or something like that, or Jobs, I don't know. But basically you get on, they don't even require a resume, they don't require a work history. You just fill out like your name, your address, basic things like that. You do have to tell them whether you've worked for Amazon or not. And if you've worked there before, they do have you put the date if you work through a different company. I have worked for Amazon through Integrity Staffing. This is the first time I actually got hired on with Amazon directly, and I did not go through the temp agency to get hired on. My friend got hired on for the same shift as well. She filled out all her stuff online, and she was actually able to pick her start date and her shift and everything like immediately. I had to wait like 2 days because they had to verify that I was eligible to be rehired. And again, they got to make sure it's been the 90 days. They have to make sure I wasn't fired for something crazy. And every time I leave, I'm able to come back. I've had no issues with that. So it's all done basically through email. They just say, hey, this is the shift that's available, and then you pick the hours that you want, the days that you want. And then they give you a day to come down to the warehouse just to show your ID and your social, to take your badge picture, things like that. And then that took like 15 minutes. Once that goes through, they do a background check, and then you are sent your online orientation, which is something new. Before, you used to do orientation, you'd have to come down to the warehouse and do, 5 or 6 hours of orientation. I did it at home, and you are paid for that. So I was paid for 5 hours of orientation, which was nice. And then you have your start date, which usually your start date's going to be roughly about 2 weeks out, and that's just so that gives them time to do the background check, and if they have to do a drug screen. This time around, they did not do a drug screen. Usually they do, so I think it's just because with COVID, they're trying to limit contact, but just be prepared to take a drug test and a background check if you want to get hired. You do need to be 18 years or older to work for Amazon. On my first day, it was just a training day. So we came in at 9. We were broken up into groups of 5. We had a trainer who took us around and trained us on the job. Again, I'll talk more about what the job is later. And then we had 1 day off, and then we came back for our actual shift. So that first week, I basically had 1 day of orientation online at home. I had a day of training and then a regular shift, and that was it. And then this will be my first official week, and like I said, I'm scheduled Sunday through Thursday, so I went ahead and picked up the extra shift. So I'll have about 8 to 9 hours today, and then 4 hours the other days. So I'll keep you posted on how those go. But I'm gonna go in now. I like to be a little early, and then I'll come back on my lunch break, and we'll talk about what the job is. About 8:50, no, it's like 8:10 now. So I ate lunch. They do what's called a flex up, right? So they could extend the shift by 1 hour, but because I'm scheduled right back to back, then you don't work a whole nother hour. They basically give you like a half-hour lunch. Working at the sort center is actually pretty cool. This sort center, this is a new sort center. I worked at the sort center back in like 2015 into 2006, the beginning of 2016. And it was like one warehouse, and like half of the warehouse was like regular warehouse stuff for Amazon, and then our part was the sort center. So what the sort center is that all of the facilities that store all of the merchandise that people are buying, those facilities pick and pack, they package everything into the Amazon boxes with the Amazon label to be shipped out to the customer. Well, they first get sent, all of those boxes get sent to us at the sort center, and then we divide up all the boxes onto pallets to go to different post offices or whatever, just to keep everything organized and together. So we're not dealing with any of the merchandise, we're just dealing with all the boxes that have already been packaged up. So a few different positions that you could have. Right off the bat, you're probably going to get hired on as a scanner, which is what I'm hired on as, but there's so many other positions that if you've been there for a month, you can start asking to be trained on other things. But basically, I'm just going to go kind of like how the workflow would go. So the trucks come to the facility. So you could be someone who's unloading the truck. So we have like these little roller conveyor belts that go into the truck, and you would be taking all the boxes out of the truck and putting them onto this conveyor belt. From there, there's different sorting on the conveyor belt. So some of the boxes that are too big get taken off the conveyor belt, like That's where I was today. I'll talk about that more. And then they get put on pallets, and then those pallets get taken over to they're called go-karts, but they're like basically cage type carts. They go up into conveyors, and then they get divided up into different places. And then if you're a scanner, you'll work one conveyor belt, or you'll work some other areas that have a little bit of a conveyor belt, or like I worked today, I worked on the go-karts area. So then basically you take the box, you scan the label, and each label tells you what pallet or what cart it needs to go on. So it would be like M15 or whatever. So then you would take that box to the pallet or the cart that says the M15 or the M, depending on where you're at, and then you would scan it onto that pallet. You'd scan the box, and then you're building these pallets up to a certain height, and then they get wrapped up in like plastic wrap type stuff, and then those full pallets get put on a new truck to go to a new sort center or the post office or wherever they go after that. So you could be the scanner, like I said, where you scan, you take a box, you scan it, you put it on a pallet. Or today I was in an area where we weren't scanning it, we just took the box and put it in the cart. And then my other shift I worked was, there's these little, they're called AR, they're robots. So another shift you could do is to be an AR scanner, but you have to be here a month and get trained on that, which is something I want to do. But basically it's the smaller boxes, and those come down, and the AR scanner scans that box, and they put it on the little robot, and then the robot takes it to the right location, the right lane. So from there is the people working the AR, they call it an AR run out. And so that's where I was the other day. And you basically run maybe four or five mini conveyor belts, and these robots drop the boxes off to you on these little conveyor belts, and then you just put the box on the correct pallet. There's no scanning. So far I've done 2 positions at this sort center where I haven't had to actually scan anything, so that's been new and cool. Yeah, so I mean, you could be unloading the truck, you could be the person who delivers the pallets or the carts, you could be wrapping the pallets with the plastic wrap, you could be scanning, you could be working in what's called problem solve. So if a box is damaged and has to be put in a new box or re-taped up or whatever, then you might be doing that. So far I love this new sort center. It's really cool, and the fact that our shifts are only 4 and 5 hours long, it's totally doable. If you work full-time, you're working a 10-hour shift 4 days a week, and you are moving the whole time. You're walking around the whole time, you're on your feet your whole time, and that can get tiring, and it can be hard on your body, and you may not last doing that very long. But if you're just trying to make a little bit of extra money over the holidays or something, then it's totally doable. For me, I'm trying to find something that's going to be long-term, because I want to help pay off our truck and our car and our house early. Like, I want to try to throw everything that I make at that debt. So for me, I want something that I can sustain. So I like working the part-time, so I work 4 or 5 hours, but then like today I had the opportunity to pick up an extra shift, so that's good too. The other thing is, working in the sort center, you can put in an online schedule request, and the computer tries to match it for you. So I have put in a request to move my Sunday 8:30 p.m. shift to 9:30 in the morning. So we'll see if I get that. And then if I do, then I'm going to always work 2 shifts on Sunday, and I'll work 9:30 in the morning, and then I'll work the other like 3 o'clock shift, so I'll be done by like 7 instead of working at night. And then also, when my girls go back to public school, when everything opens up, then I'm going to try to get all of my night shift moved to 9:30 in the morning. So we'll see. And then I could also pick up extra shifts at that point. If I was working in the morning, I could potentially work 8 to 10 hours if I wanted to. So I like that option, that flexibility. So let me know if you have whatever questions you have, leave them down below, and I'll make a separate Q&A video. That way I have a little more targeted response to what you guys want to know. And then I'll talk a little bit about the other positions maybe in another video as well. But so far, working at the Amazon warehouse doing the sort center is definitely a great option, especially if you just need if you want part-time. But as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.